So today we're going to be looking at arrays. An array is a data structure which stores multiple items of the same data type. It is fixed in length. That is, if you have an array of 50 items of type string, then that means you can have 50 names, for example, in it. You can also have it stored in integers, you can have it stored in Boolean, or you can have it stored in real numbers. Now, what we're going to look at today is how we can make use of this array. So I've got a little task I've set up here. This is called my October task. It's just a kind of summary, a run up of everything we do at National 5 level. Now what I've actually done is I have created an array, and you'll see this array is storing real numbers, and it's quite long. And what we have to do is we have to do a little bit of analysis on this array as part of the task. So up the top here, I've got the first bit. So what I'm going to do is, just for quickness, I'm just going to cut this and I'm going to paste this down here. So how do we go about calculating how many numbers are in the array? Well, obviously, I set up the array, so I should know how many it is. But the truth is, there's an easy way to do that, and that's to make use of the length function. So if I simply print out the length of the array is, then len, and then the name of the array, okay, that should then print out the length of the array. So run this. And we should see a little thing here. So the length of the array is 200. So there are 200 numbers in this array. And that's a very easy way we can use to work with it. Now, we can use number 200 from now on, or we can go ahead and just keep using this len numbers, and that way we've got the right numbers done. So let's try and do the next one. What we want to do is calculate the sum, all the numbers added together in the array, and display it with a pound sign. So that sounds really quite simple. And all we'd have to do for that is we could do this. So print the sum of the number array is, and we could just go ahead and use a function in there called sum. And that would give us the answer. But that's cheating, because we're computer scientists, and making use of this function, which does some process of the number, is no use to us. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to add this up ourselves, and we're going to do something called a running total. So the sum of the number array is, and I'm going to put in here using the cheats method. Okay, let's do it the proper way. So what we're going to do is we're going to have total equals 0. Okay, and then we're going to use a loop, and the kind of loop we're going to use is a fixed loop. Because we know how many items are in the array, we can just use something like this. For index in range, we could put in 200 here, but we can also just go ahead and just put len numbers. Okay, and that way it'll do it for each one. And all we're going to do is we're going to add each position to the total. So we do total equals total plus, and what we're going to do is we're going to put in the current position. So we do that with numbers index. Okay, and at the end of that we should have all the totals, so we can then just go ahead and we're just going to copy this line. We're going to remove the cheats method bit off the end. So the total of the array is total. Now, if I've done it right, both should add up to the same number. So there you go. So the sum of the array using the cheats method is 983.58, and using this version is 983.58. So they're exactly the same numbers that we get out here. So this is a running total inside a loop, which is one of the standard algorithms for National 5. So then what we can do is we can then move on to this step 3. Calculate the average of the values in the array to 2 decimal places. Okay, so we've already got the total, and we know how many items are in the array, so we can just use something like average equals total divided by the number of items is, which is 200, so we could put in 200 here, but equally as well, we can just put in the len of numbers and have it do the calculation for it. Okay, so we want to display the calculation to decimal places, so we're going to print, in fact, let's do it without it, the average value of the array numbers is. So we run that, and we obviously get this verse here where it says 4.9179. We want to round that to 2 decimal places. So we just do round brackets and 2 decimal places. Okay, like that. And you'll see it's then rounded up to 492. Now I've just looked back at step 2 and it says with a pound sign. So how do we do that with a pound sign? Well, the easiest way is to go up here and we're simply going to stick a pound sign in it. I'm going to change that to an ampersand. And now when I run it, oh, sorry, not an ampersand, change that to plus, wrong programming language. And now when I run it, it goes ahead and does it. My bad. I forgot to convert it to string. That's what happens when you do it in a hurry. Okay, so there we go. There's just with the pound sign in it. Okay. Always when you try and do something in a hurry. Okay, so let's go up to the next one. So this is step 4. Display all numbers that are above 5. Right, so I'm going to have to go back for this loop idea. So that was for index in range, len, numbers. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to check if it's the right one. So if the current number, which is numbers index, is greater than 5, I'm simply going to go and print out this number. That simple. Okay. Now when I run it, I should get all the values that are above 5. There'll be quite a lot of them. There is, after all, 200 names. 200 numbers. But if you look through the list, you should see that they're all above 5. You can take my word for it. Roughly half of the list will be above 5 and half the list will be below 5. But we still have this here. So this kind of starts. I think what I'll do is I'll stick a nice little wee print at the top saying something like the following numbers are greater than 5. All that does is just at the top of the program puts that in. So when we scroll up, we can actually see when it stops. Right, well, that was dead easy. So let's go on and we'll take this one. Okay. Ask for a real number between 0 and 10 and only accept these values. So this is actually just a little input validation task that we've thrown in here as well. So let's go ahead and we'll do this. So print, please enter a number between 0 and 10. Okay. And we're going to, so this is a number. So we won't call it number because we've got a numbers array. Let's call it target. So target equals float, input. Okay. Now what we're going to do is ask, repeat, error, ask. So we're going to throw a while loop in here because we're going to repeat this. So while the target is less than 0 or the target is greater than 10, okay, because it's between 1 and 10, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to print out the number should be between 0 and 10. And I'm just going to copy this in because we've done the ask. This is the repeat. This is the error. And this is the ask. Ask, repeat, error, ask. So we'll run it. We're going to test this. So we'll test it first of all with some values which are too large. So what we're going to do are too small. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to run this program and we're going to enter a number between 0 and 10. And I'm going to put in -9. Doesn't let me do that. I'm going to put in 12. Doesn't let me do that. I should be able to put in 0 and it accepts it. So rather than doing that, I'll do 0.5. Perfect. And if I run it again, and I just put in number 10, perfect. Run it again, and this time I'm just going to put in number 6.5. Right, so that seems to do exactly what we have to do. So remember, ask, repeat, error, ask. Right, area is there a way to remember this? Okay, number 6 is the last little one we're doing. Display only the numbers above the value entered 5. So we've got this code, which is these. So I'm just going to reuse this code. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to bring it down here. And this time I've got target greater than target. Okay. So now what it does is exactly the same as greater than 5, but it's actually taken this value here that we've got, and it's going to display the following numbers are greater than target, and then for each item in the array, if the number at the current position is greater than the target, because it does say greater than target, then we're going to print those numbers off. So when I run this, I'll use something a wee bit high as it does it, so those are all above 5. So let's go for something like 8.3. So all of these numbers should be greater than 8.3. And you'll see there's an awful lot less of them, as you would expect, because we're still dealing with the same 200 number database. Okay, so that's just a little revision of everything we've done so far in arrays. The important things to remember are you have to learn how to traverse an array. Traversing an array simply means using a for loop. You have to remember how to do a running total in an array. So what that means is using a for loop with this total equals total plus the number at the current position. Okay. You should know how to do input validation as well. So ask, repeat, error, ask. And you should be able to work with the data that's in it. So maybe create the sum, do the average, etc. Please try and avoid, if you go online and you search for an answer for some of these tasks, this is the kind of answer you'll get when it says use some numbers, which is fine. An expert programmer would use that all the time, but it's no use for National 5 and for higher work, because ultimately at the end of the day, they want to see that you can traverse the array. They want to see that you can work with the values that are in the array. They want to see that you can search for information that's in there. Thanks for tuning in today.